everybody, it's Christy from Mentally Kills, and I'm back again with another interview. Today, I'm going to bring Tim out to meet you guys, so let's welcome him in.
Hi,
Hi, how are
Christy.
you?
Good. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for being on this. I really appreciate it. So, I think that you have the most to say out of everybody I've brought on so far. So, why don't you start by telling us a little about yourself, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. I usually say I was born in a normal family, but I can't. I don't really want to say that anymore because my mom, growing up, was a professional bodybuilder, and that's not really normal. And my father was a police officer. He actually retired after 37 years. But the reason I mention that is I did not grow up with drugs and alcohol in the house. There was no liquor in the cabinet. There was no beer in the refrigerator. They didn't smoke. I wasn't around it at all. I was an athlete my entire life growing up. But one thing that did affect and brought and helped me get into drugs and alcohol was my father and mother got a divorce when I was 6 years old. And as a 6-year-old little boy, I thought it was my fault.
Yeah.
I have a brother who's 11 years older than me. And I specifically remember saying, why did you leave me in first grade and my brother's almost a senior in high school? Why didn't you love me as much as you loved him? You stuck around for him until he was 18 and I'm only 6. What did I do?
Right.
Did I not clean my room? Did I not listen? Was I not a good boy? Did I not do good in school? And what really kind of put the nail in the coffin on that was my father would call and say, "Hey, buddy, pack your bags. I'm coming to pick you up." And I cannot tell you how many times I packed my bags and sat at the
And you
front
didn't show
door,
up.
and an hour would go by, and then the phone would ring. "Hey, I'm sorry, I can't come and get you. Something came up." It happened so many times that my mom would tell me, "Hey, your dad's coming to pick you up this weekend." I wouldn't even go pack. And she'd be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Mom, he's just going to call in an hour and cancel. I'm not packing." That really did bother me. And to keep my mind straight, my mother got me into sports to keep me active. And I excelled in every single sport that I did. Baseball, football. I was a junior Olympic and Golden Glove boxer. I was a
Wow.
sponsored skateboarder here in Baltimore, Maryland. I actually grew up with Brandon Novak and Bucky Lasik, and we skateboarded. I was this close to becoming professional, and I backed out of it for a girl, actually, for some dumb reason at 10th grade. But I did, and I don't regret that. But it is what it is. And but no drugs and alcohol. I wasn't interested in it. I was an athlete, and that's what I wanted to do. Ninth grade, we had a welcome to high school freshman party. And I was like, I want to go. Everybody's going to be there. I can meet people, and school starts in 2 weeks. I'm going to go. I go, and that's the first time I ever tried alcohol. I got so sick. It was bad. The next day, my mom picked me up, and she was like, "You drank alcohol, didn't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." She said, "Well, I'm not going to punish you. The rest of the weekend for you is ruined, and that's it. That's going to be your punishment." That deterred me from drinking again until my senior year of high school, and still no drugs. That I just wasn't interested in them. My senior year of high school came, and the summer before senior year, I had signed up for the United States Marine Corps. So I knew once I graduated
Oh,
high school, I'm going into service. So for me, senior year was kind of like, I'm going to have some fun because when I graduate, shit's going to hit the fan. It's going to get real. Let me have some fun. I started going to parties, and it wasn't to be popular. It wasn't to have friends. I was a very popular guy in high school. I had a lot of friends, had a lot of girlfriends. It wasn't to fit in or anything. I just literally thought to myself, let me get it out of my system because next year is really going to be serious. So I started drinking. And once I got that alcohol in my system, I was the guy that was like, well, what else is at the party? Because, my guards are down now. So I started smoking pot. I started tripping on LSD, started eating mushrooms, started smoking PCP, started taking painkillers whenever they were around. Now, my senior year of high school, heroin and cocaine were not in my neighborhood, in my county. But if they were, I would have done them because I did everything else that was at the parties. Again, I told myself it was just a phase. this is all going to end at the end of the school year. And the school year came and I joined the Marine Corps. The drugs did stop. There was no more drugs. I got tested every 3, 4 weeks. There was no drugs. But once I graduated boot camp and we got stationed in North Carolina, as soon as 4 o'clock came, we would leave the base and go to the bars, go to the strip clubs, and we would drink. And the mottos around the bases were, if you're old enough to take a bullet for the country, you're old enough to have a cold beer. So we're 18, 19, 20 years old, and the establishments around the bars are serving us. And our sergeants, who are in their 30s, late 20s, are at the same bars. And they're just like, make sure your ass is up at 3:30 in that formation at 4 a.m. because we're going running. We don't care what you're doing. Don't get locked up. Don't get in a fight. Make sure your ass is up and ready to go at 4 a.m. So it wasn't a deterrent. They weren't like, oh, you guys are young. You shouldn't be out here drinking. It was kind of like a badge of honor. How much can you drink and still get up at 3:30 and go run 5 miles and throw up and keep running? Like, it was kind of like, this is what we do. We party hard. We train hard. That went on the entire time I was in the Marine Corps. The last 8 months of my Marine Corps enlistment, we got stationed, or we didn't get stationed, we got deployed over to Somalia for 6 months. Now, this was not during wartime, so I'm not considered a combat vet, but we were over there for peacetime just to keep the peace and just regulate and monitor systems and stuff. But I got to see what a third world country, the ramifications of war, what it did to its people, its buildings, its infrastructure, and that really did. I know now that it played a toll on me and it bothered me, but when I was 19, 20 years old, it didn't bother me that much. I get back and I had 3 months left in my enlistment. I get out of the Marine Corps and I come home. And the first month was really kind of cool. I was like, wow, I don't have to get up at 4 o'clock. I don't have to run today. I don't have to shave. I don't have to shower. Every twice a day. I don't have to wear a uniform. Like, I was kind of like, I can relax. The second month came and I kind of had that oh shit factor. I got to get a job. I got to get a car. I got to start paying bills. I got to help my mom out because I moved back into my mom's house. And what's my purpose now? Because I was just in the military kicking ass, and I had a purpose, like I was worth something. What am I going to do now? The third month came, and I fell into a deep depression. I stopped showering. I stopped shaving. I was drinking every day. I started doing drugs again because now I'm not getting tested. So I'm smoking pot. I'm doing LSD and shrooms and eating painkillers, and I'm drinking. And I find myself one day sitting in my bedroom, and I'm like, I'm a piece of shit. Like, how can I go from being a Marine and accomplishing all this stuff in the service to now I'm sitting in my mom's house in my bedroom with no job. I haven't shaved. I'm looking like hell. I'm drinking. What am I doing here? I should just kill myself. And I go into my father's armoire and I pull out his gun and I sit it on my lap. And I'm sitting there looking at it for like 5 minutes. Luckily, at that time, I had the right mind to call my girlfriend. I said, hey, something's wrong. I'm not myself. I'm sitting here looking at a gun in my lap and I'm contemplating using it. And within 5 minutes, she was at my house. She came over. She took the gun from me. And when my mom got home from work that evening, I told her, I said, hey, something's wrong. I didn't tell her I just had my stepfather's gun in my lap. She totally would have had me committed. I would have went to the hospital. But I said, something's wrong. I don't feel normal. Something is going on. So she made some appointments to the doctors, and I got in there. They ran a whole bunch of tests. I was in there for, it was actually 5 days. They came back, you have bipolar 1 manic depressive disorder. And their first solution was, we need to get you on medicine. Okay, so let's put me on medicine. And I said this in the beginning before we started recording. If the doctor puts you on medicine, please, please be honest with your doctor. If you are drinking or using any type of drugs, please be honest with your doctor, because the medicines that he's trying to put you on for your mental illness or what's going on, they're not going to work if you have drugs or alcohol in your system. They're not designed to work that way. I made the mistake and I was never honest with my doctors. So the gambit of medicines that I went on and off, they never worked. The upping the milligram dosages never worked. the cocktails of 3 to 4 or 5 different medicines, the lithium that I was on, like none of it ever worked. And when I would go back every 3 to 6 months, hey Tim, how's we're here for the checkup. How's things going? Well, doc, I feel worse than I did before I came in here 3 months ago. Well, I don't understand. We got you on this, that, and the other, 100 milligrams of this, 50 milligrams of this. We don't understand why it's working. I don't know what to tell you, but I still feel the same. Okay, well, maybe those medicines aren't working. We're going to put you on these three and try this amount of milligrams. Come back in another 30, 60 days and we'll reevaluate you and see how things are going. That roller coaster lasted from the age 21 all the way up until the age of 44 until I finally went into rehab and got sober. I would do the typical, I would take medicine for 6 months and tell myself I feel better and just stop taking the medicine. And I'd feel good for about a month, and then that crash would come, and then I'd feel like shit for 2 to 3 months. Man, I better get back to the doctor and get some medicine. Go back on the medicine for 3, 4, maybe 6 months. I think 1 year was the longest I actually continuously stayed on medicine in that entire 20 plus years. And I would just continuously take myself off because I would tell myself, why do I need medicine to feel like you? You don't take any medicine and you're able to deal with your emotions. You're happy, you're sad, you go to work, you're a productive member of society. Why do I need to take medicine to be just like you? And I shamed myself for that. So there was a lot of times where I didn't want to take it because I told myself I didn't need it, and I'm okay. I don't need the medicine, and I shunned it and I pushed it off. Well, I got into my 30s. I just got married. We had our first daughter. Now my second daughter comes along, and I lost another job. I want to tell you that since being out of the Marines from the age of 21 to the age of 35, I went through 46 jobs. And that is all due to my mental illness and alcohol and drug addiction. I couldn't keep a job. It would be 3 months, 6 months tops. And I just would get bored with the job and just not go back. I would call out sick, and then my anxiety and panic would kick in and be like, they're talking about me at work. Oh my God, I'm going to go back to work and they're going to be saying this, that, and the other. And I just wouldn't go. I would talk myself out of this several times. Or I would simply just be like, I don't like that job. I'm going to try this over here. And finally, I got to the age of 32, and my wife's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know. I just don't like these jobs. She's like, well, what do you want to do? Like, what, you have to find something. What, we have to pay bills. What do you want to do? And I'm like, I miss sports. I miss competing. And she says, fine. What do you want to do? I said, I want to go try mixed martial arts for a couple of years. And bless her heart, she said, I'll give you 1 year. She's like, the bills are paid. I'll give you 1 year to go training. And if you can get some fights and make some money and see what happens. Well, I went down to the local gym, started training. I got my first fight in 6 months. And that 1 year lasted 3 years. I had multiple fights. I fought in Atlantic City, down in Harris Casino in Philadelphia, down here in Baltimore, Virginia. I wasn't making that much money. I was only fighting every 3, 4 months, making about $1,500, but it made me feel as if I was worthy. I was doing something that I was passionate about. And I have to tell you, of all the drugs and alcohol I've drank and all the times I partied, there was no feeling that I've ever felt than coming out of the locker room and your music's going and the lights are flashing and there's 3 to 4 thousand people cheering. That adrenaline is an unmatched feeling that I have yet still to ever find. And my last fight, I tear my rotator cuff. I'm now 35. 3 years have gone by. And I get back to the locker room and I can't move my arm. And my trainer's like, what's wrong? I said, I can't put my shirt on. You have to help me put my shirt on. He's like, okay. So he helps me put my shirt on. I go out to the lobby where I have 30 some friends and family. My wife hands me a beer and I grab it with my left hand. And usually I hold things with my right, even though I'm left-handed. And she's like, why'd you grab that with your left hand? She noticed it right away. And I said, I can't lift my right arm. She's like, okay, you're done. That's it. She's like, yeah, go see a doctor. Like, you had your fun. Enough's enough. I go to the doctor. I tore my labrum in 3 places and had to have rotator cuff surgery immediately. So within the week of my fight, within that week, I had to have major reconstructive surgery on my rotator cuff, which then puts me on a 4.5 year long pain pill prescription addiction to Oxycontins prescribed to me from the doctor. And we're talking, I'm 46 now, so roughly 9, 10 years ago, they didn't have what they have in place now, thank God, where I could just go to my doctor and say, hey, I need more pills. And he'd say, okay, and write me a prescription. And literally that was it. Now you have to go see pain management. You have to go through some hoops, which I think is great. I think they should make it a little bit more stricter. But I literally could just go to my doctor every 30, 60 days whenever my script was out and say, hey, those Percocets you had me on were messing up my stomach. I need something else. Okay, well, I'll put you on hydrocodones. Go back. Okay, well, those hydrocodones didn't have as much kick as the Percocets. They're not taking the pain away. Okay, well, I'll just put you on Oxycontin, 20 milligrams, and that should do the trick. So that's what they ended up putting me on. So I'm taking these Oxycontins, and I'm not taking them one every 4 hours. I'm taking 2 to 3 every 4 hours, and I'm drinking a 12-pack of beer a day. And this goes on for almost 4 years. I'm drinking a 12-pack of beer, and I'm taking between probably 8 to 15, 20 milligram oxys a day. And I remember sitting on the edge of my bed, and I'm like, holy shit, this is how people die. I'm trying to think, how many ox did I take today? How much beer did I drink today? I'm going to go to sleep tonight and not wake up. And I thought to myself, you know what? If I'm going to die this way, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to die in my sleep. And I reach over and I grab my pill bottle and I open it up and I dump it out of my hand. And I have 18 20 milligram oxys. I take all 18 of them and I go out into the living room and I guzzle a 12-pack of beer within like an hour, maybe even 45 minutes. And I go back into my bedroom and I lay down. And I remember saying, please, God, don't let me wake me up because I want the pain to stop and I don't want to live this way anymore. Please don't let me wake up. And I pass out and I wake up the next day, like 16 hours later. And I don't know why I woke up. And I'm searching for the purpose of why I didn't die. And I don't understand. But I go into the bathroom and I have my refill sitting there and it has 30 of them in my refill. And I open up the bottle and I dump all 30 of them down the toilet. And I look into the mirror and I remember telling myself, I don't care how bad this gets. I'm never taking pain medicine again. Something happened. And for the next 10 days, I was the sickest I think I've ever been in my entire life. The throwing up, the nausea, the sweats, the jitters, the racing thoughts, the going to the bathroom, the fever, the whole gambit of coming off of opioids after 4 years. It was awful. But every morning when I woke up, I would look in the mirror behind my tears and my bloated face and my snotty nose, and I would say, remember this feeling. We never want to go through this again. I was able to stop taking pain pills, but I couldn't stop drinking. So I get in my truck and I'm like, I got to go for a ride, just clear my head because I don't know what's going on here. So I get in my truck and I'm driving through this park. And it's a beautiful park. People go biking and picnicking and they walk their dogs. And there's a reservoir you can go fishing and take your boat out. It's a really beautiful park. And I get around to this tree where my senior year of high school, my best friend lost control of his vehicle and hit the tree. And he lost his life at the age of 18. And at this tree, his parents set up a little memorial. And it's got a picture of him hanging on the tree. And there's a book there still to this day. This happened in December 27th, 1996. There's still a book there. They change it out every couple months, and you can continuously write to him. And I get out and I go up to the tree and I'm crying. And I'm like, Billy, I don't know why I'm here, man. I don't know why I lived, but I can't stop drinking. I feel alone. I don't believe in anything. I didn't believe in a higher power. I didn't believe in anything because if there was something out there, how could I be suffering so bad? If something that loved me so much, how could they let me suffer so bad? I said, I just need to know I'm not alone. I just need to know that there's something else out there. And I get in my truck and I go to leave the park. As I leave the park, I can't drive. I'm crying. So I pull over to the side of the road, but I pull over on the wrong side of the road because the right side has a bunch of people parked. So I pull over on oncoming traffic. And as I'm sitting there crying, 10 minutes goes by and this car pulls up and we're hood to hood because I'm on the wrong side of the traffic. And I watch this man get out of his vehicle and he opens the back door and he grabs his dog and I'm looking at him and I'm like, man, that guy looks familiar. I said, holy shit. It was my best friend who died in 1996. It was his father, whom I hadn't seen the day of his funeral. This is March 16th, 2017, 21 years later. And I get out of my truck and I look at him. I say, Mr. Bill, is that you? And he looks at me and he says, Timmy, what's wrong? And I just start crying. I said, I'm an alcoholic. I'm an addict. I don't know why I'm here. I tried taking my life and I'm lost. I don't know my purpose. And he walks over to me and he puts his hand on my shoulder and he says, Timmy, I'm not supposed to be here this morning. My wife came to me in a dream last night and told me to come here at 10 a.m. to walk the dog. I'm supposed to be in South Carolina at a family reunion trip. I was supposed to leave at 6 a.m. this morning. I believe I was here to see you. And I said, Mr. Bill, I just stopped at Billy's tree and asked him for a sign. And we hugged and we talked for 10 minutes. And as I was leaving, he looked at me and he said, everything's going to be okay. And I get in my truck and I leave the park and I'm feeling like, wow, man, everything's going to be okay. There's something watching over me. There's something protecting me. There's really something else out there. And my mental illness steps in and says, yes, you are being protected. You're being watched. Nothing is going to happen to you. So you don't have to stop drinking because you're being protected. So for the next 4 years, from 2017 to 2021, I drank the most alcohol I have ever consumed in my entire life. The 12 beers went to 18 beers. And then that wasn't enough. I switched to Fireball whiskey because I was missing something. You know, I had my pills, I had my marijuana, and I had my alcohol. Well, now the pills are gone, and I'm missing that cocktail to make me feel as normal as I was so used to feeling. So I started drinking whiskey. And the funny thing, it's funny how your mind plays tricks on you. It says, don't buy a big bottle of whiskey because then you'll know exactly how much liquor you're drinking throughout the day. Just buy the little miniatures because you can drink them and throw them out the window or throw them in the trash, and you can't really track how much you're drinking throughout the day. So you don't have to be accountable for how much you're drinking. So I started off with like four of them in the morning, and I would get a 6 pack of beer. And then it went to six of them and a 12 pack of beer. And then finally I said, you know what? Screw the beer. I'm just going to drink straight whiskey all day long. So I would stop at the liquor store at 7 a.m. and I would get a sleeve of Fireball whiskey, which is 10 of them, already wrapped in a pack. I would drink all 10 of them before 1 o'clock in the afternoon. When I got off of work at 3:30, I went right to the liquor store and I got 10 more. I would drink all 10 of them by 8 o'clock. And if I was feeling frisky, I would go back out to the liquor store and get another 10 and usually drink five, if not all 10 of those before 9 o'clock at night before I passed out. And I would do that every single day. For shits and giggles, I took one of those miniatures one day and I measured it out to see exactly how much I was drinking. One miniature of Fireball whiskey is 2.5 shots. So 2.5 times 30. I was drinking upwards anywhere between 65 to 85 shots of Fireball whiskey every single day for over a year and a half. It got to the point where I got a brand new truck. I'm driving home from the liquor store and I hit something and I don't know what I hit. I get home and I tell my wife I hit something, and she's like, you can't stay here. You got to leave. I said, okay. So I call my friend. I go over to his house, and he said, well, you just got kicked out. Why don't we go to the bar? I'm like, you're absolutely right. So we go to the bar less than 15 hours later, and as I'm leaving the bar, I rear end somebody. I get out, I check the guy, he's okay, his truck's okay. I get in my car and I take off a hit and run. I go to my friend's house. I'm like, I got to go be by myself, man. I can't stay here. I go and I sit in my truck for 2 days, drinking and passing out and drinking and passing out and drinking and passing out. I shut my phone off for 48 hours. I turn it on 7 after 10 in the morning, March 5th, 2021, and 2 minutes later, the phone rings, and I look down and it says Westchester, Pennsylvania, and I'm thinking, who the hell is this? I don't know anybody in Westchester, Pennsylvania. So I pick it up. It's my childhood friend Brandon Novak, and he's like, Lodgen, what the fuck are you doing? And I said, I'm cold, I'm hungry, I'm drunk, and I'm tired. And he says, good motherfucker, that's what you need. I have a plane ticket set for you this evening. I got you in the Banyan Treatment Centers down West Palm Beach, Florida. I want you to get on that plane and go get your life back. And he hangs up the phone. My wife calls 5 minutes later. She says, come home, pack, take a nap, try to take a shower, try to eat something. So I go home, I pack, I take a shower. I couldn't eat and I couldn't sleep. My anxiety's through the roof. My panic is 100. And I'm doing oh my God, I can't believe I got to go to rehab. I screwed my life up so bad. I got to go to rehab. Like, what the hell? Why couldn't I control it? You're just playing all these scenarios in my head. And I'm sitting on the edge of the bed. And my addiction takes my hand and it walks me to the basement of my home. And I throw a rope around my neck. And I stand up on a bucket. And my wife realizes I'm not in the bedroom anymore. She comes down to the basement and she sees me in the corner of the basement with a rope around my neck, standing on a bucket, hysterically crying. She says, what are you doing? I said, I can't go. I can't do it. I just want the pain to stop. And she looks at me and she says, Tim, do you know what this would do to your 3 little girls? Please, please get down and get on that plane. Everything is going to be all right. I get down. I call my friend. I said, hey, I got to get on that plane tonight. If I don't get on that plane tonight, my mental illness and this addiction is going to kill me. I got to go. And all he says is, I'm proud of you. I love you. Call me when you pass security. I want to make sure your ass is getting on the plane and not catching a cab and leaving the airport. I said, okay, okay. I hang up, go to the airport, and I call him. And all he says is, I'm proud of you. I love you. You're about to get everything back that you've ever lost times 10. And he hangs up the phone. As I go to sit down in that chair in that airport, waiting for them to call my boarding pass, as I sit down in this chair, I get this overwhelming feeling of hope that comes over my entire body. It was a warm blanket feeling that drugs and alcohol have never given me. My panic went away, my worry went away, my anxiety, my doubt, my fear, everything at the exact same time left my body. And I hear this warm, calming woman's voice in my head. And she simply says, everything is going to be okay. Something happened to me in that airport because when I got to rehab, I was ready for help. I wanted help. And I was willing to do whatever needed to be sober and to get the mental health help that I needed, that I've always shunned away. I accepted that I needed the help, and I was willing to do whatever it took. And today, I have 18 months, 3.5 weeks. Next week, I'll have 19 months sober after
Congratulations.
27 years of addiction and mental illness. And I'm on medicine that's probably the lowest dosages I've ever been in my entire life. And wouldn't you know, the damn thing works without drugs and alcohol in your system. It's amazing. Um, and what my friend did for me was 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 selfless. It was caring.
It was a reminder
Um,
that you were worth living,
yeah,
you know?
and that's what I have to do now. What he gave me was hope when I was hopeless, that I had no hope, and I truly thought I was destined to die from that disease. I did, and what he gave me was hope. And what I do now is actually speaking to you tonight is my 66th podcast I've done this year. Um, I've got 3 scheduled next week. I already think I have like 6 next month already scheduled. Friday, I'm doing a live seminar for men's mental health for Positive Impact TV. I'm the feature speaker in the whole panel. There's 15 of us. I'll be going on last and answering questions. I just got back from California speaking to vets and first responders about mental health and addiction through the Overwatch Collective. Last month, I went to North Carolina to speak for overdose awareness. The month before that, I went to Kensington, Philadelphia. Um, next,
Hey,
yeah, next month, I go to Las Vegas to speak at the Untethered Summit for mental health and addiction. And then November 19th, I'll be in Ontario, Canada, speaking on mental health and addiction and suicide awareness. So to say my life has changed more than my friend said, he said times 10. I called him the other day. I said, "You lied to me, man." I said, my life's changed like 100 times. Like I could never imagine having the opportunity to even sit here and speak to you and to share my story, much less have shared my story so many times and have gotten feedback from all over the world. And, you know, I, I've realized that those 27 years didn't happen to me. They happened for me to become this person I was always meant to become. And if I could help one more person, that's one less that we lose to mental illness, suicide, and addiction. And that's what I want to do. I just want to help one more person. If I can help one more, then I really believe I found my purpose. So I'm going to share as much as possible. I'm going to help as much as possible. And I want people to know that if you're suffering with something, mental illness or addiction, trauma, you're not alone. There's others people out there that suffer with this. Please don't be ashamed. Please don't be embarrassed. Please don't think you're burdening anybody else with your problems. We would rather hear your problems than bury you. We're here to help. We love you. We have your back. And it's I wish I could have saved some of my friends along the way, but it just makes me realize how much more important this is that we share.
yeah,
We have to help as many people as possible. And alcohol and drugs promised and took everything from me, and I'm coming for everything they promised and took from me. I'm coming for all of it.
good. Very good. That's a powerful story. Thank you so much for sharing that. I didn't even have to guide it or anything. You just knew exactly where to go with this. I was like trying not to cry a couple times. Uh, but thank you so much for what you do for people. It really is inspiring. And I hope anybody watching this is listening. You know, it is really easy to believe that we're alone in how we're feeling and alone in the world and in our experiences. And that's not true, just like you said. So I don't even have any further questions to ask you because anything I had written down to ask you, you already answered. So, I mean, I guess the last thing I could ask is there any piece of advice other than what you've already said that you would offer to somebody who may just accidentally come across this video in the future, who maybe don't have an issue but know somebody who does?
Oh, if they know somebody that does, that's battling, be their
It is
friend. Be their ears. You know, that person might just need somebody to listen. That person might need somebody to yell at. That person might just need you to give them a hug and tell them that you're proud of them, that you love them. Telling somebody you're proud of them as such is so powerful. even when they're not proud of themselves. Believe in them and let them know that you're there to help, and try to help them as much as possible. The biggest thing is we feel alone when we're going through that stuff. We truly feel alone. We feel nobody understands. And the more that we let them know that we under even if you don't understand, tell them that you understand. you know have empathy, not sympathy. Empathy, I like empathy better because you can understand what they're going through and you can help them better. Sympathy is kind of like you're I'm not good with sympathy. I'd rather have empathy. I've been there. I know what you're going through. This is what I've done to help me. Let's try this with you. And you don't give up. You keep trying, you keep trying, you keep trying.
That's right. Beautifully said. Well, with that being said, that comes to the end of our interview. Thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming and sharing your story because it is a very powerful one. Usually, what I do from here is I drop you out and I give a little word of wisdom of my own, and then I end it from there. But I wanted to thank you again, number one, for your service, but number two, for your inspiration today.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad we were able to meet up and make this happen. And thank you for letting me share my story to reach one more person. And I want to tell you how proud I am of you for
Thank you.
overcoming everything that you've done and what you're doing now to help other people. You are a very, very strong woman. And I wish you nothing but the best, and everything that you're trying to accomplish. It's all going to happen times 10, because you've got this. Okay. And if you ever need
Thank you.
anything, I'm here. I'm your brother now. So
Oh,
I got your back. If you ever need anything, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm not that far from you. I'm like an hour and a half.
I'm
So
hopping in the car right now. Getting, but again, thank you so much. That means a lot to hear that, and it makes me feel like I'm doing something good. So
you are, you are.
thank you. So I'll drop out. I'll give my little final word. I'll be back with you in a second.
Okay.
So now that I'm all emotional, my little message for today is if anybody needed a reminder or anybody watching this is feeling like they are alone and that nobody can relate and nobody could possibly understand, I've been there. We're all different branches on the same tree, and you are worth staying. You are worth feeling good about yourself. You're worth more than what you're giving yourself. So, if you needed a reminder that your life is worthwhile, it's right here. If you need help, go get it. It's out there. It doesn't have to be drugs and alcohol. If you have trouble with your self worth, there is help out there. Go get it. You have to remember that you are worth it, and you have to hold yourself accountable for the choices that you make and forgive yourself for the actions and behaviors that result from being in pain and suffering. So, with that being said, my name is Christy, and this has been another Mentally Kills interview. I'll see you on the next one.